Hi there, here we are again, week 8 and chapter 8, but because this is quite a long chapter, it's going to be read in 2 parts, but I will put both parts up together the same week. So here we go, chapter 8, part 1. Charlotte arrived home from dance practice and flopped down onto a chair in the kitchen. Good day, I asked. OK, practice was good, we're working on a dance to the Rihanna song Umbrella. I'll look forward to seeing it at some point. Mrs. Grantley has entered us into a competition and we should know if we have made it to the heats for the Midlands area. Over tea we discussed the dance competition a little more, and then I told Charlie about the event we were hoping to put on in the summer, called Rock on the River, with various local bands and performers to help raise money for the hospital. That sounds good. Can our group dance at it? Charlie asked. Oh, I don't see why not. Well, I better go and finish my homework, she said, leaving the table. Charlie didn't have any work to do, but the diary was calling to her, so she settled down on her bed and opened it back up for another dip into her mum's teenage years. She read through her mum's one and only date with James until she reached the day he left Ross-on-Wye. Sunday the 31st of January 1988. The rain beating on the window pane woke me, and I thought how apt it was that the weather matched my mood. The only thing I had to look forward to was giving Sarah a call on the phone and letting her know how yesterday had gone, and the mixtape to listen to. It was certainly an eclectic mixture of songs. I loved the upbeat sound of Madness and Baggy Trousers. There were some Wham and George Michael tracks on there too. Finally, there are a few songs that were taken from the Top Gun soundtrack, including the slow ballad Take My Breath Away, which I played a few times to allow the words to sink in. They spoke of my situation. Watching, I keep waiting, still anticipating love. Then I remembered that James had possibly not left yet and could still be just down the road. Leaping off the bed, I pulled on my shoes and hurried out of the door. Just off for a walk, Mum, I shouted as I grabbed my handbag. I knew that the video shop would be open at noon, so I could call in and see if they had a copy of Top Gun. I ran the short distance downhill to the entrance of the avenue and then paused. Would he still be there? Would he want to see me again this morning after saying goodbye last night? Walking slowly into the road, I couldn't see any sign of movement, but as I neared the end I saw a couple of large removal vans. I could feel my heart beating in my chest at the thought of seeing James for one final time. I walked closer and then paused as my nerve failed me, and I turned around. Slowly I sauntered back along the pavement, but then I heard footsteps running behind me and I turned to see James. "Steph, fancy seeing you here," he exclaimed. I blushed and tried to look away from his gaze, but he reached out and grabbed my hand. "Don't run off, it's great to see you before we leave," he said. "How's it going?" I asked, motioning at the large vans. "Oh, just putting the last few things in now," he said, glancing down at his watch. "We're hoping to leave in about 10 minutes. "I'd better go then and let you get finished," I said, trying to pull away, but his hand held mine tightly. "I'm glad you came," he breathed. He took my other hand in his and stepped closer to me. I briefly closed my eyes as I started to feel dizzy as my heart pounded. Letting go of my hands, his arms wrapped around my trembling body and held me close for what seemed like an age. I laid my head on his chest. I could smell his deodorant and aftershave mingling together. I was certain he could feel me shaking in his embrace. I felt his hand running up my spine into my neck and then round to my chin to tilt my face towards him. Opening my eyes, I watched as he bent down as his lips touched mine for a final kiss. It didn't feel like a goodbye kiss, even though I knew that it was. James, we're leaving now," his mum shouted. We broke apart and I took one last look at him, filling my mind with his image. "I'll write soon," I breathed. "Bye, Steph." "Bye, James," I whispered, even though I knew I didn't want to say it, let alone think about it. I watched him run back down the road and jump into the car. I waited as the 2 vans pulled off down the street, followed by the car. James was in the front passenger seat next to his dad. He waved as they passed me. Then the heavens opened and it started to rain hard. I didn't pull my hood up as it splashed onto my hair and then ran down my face. It helped to hide the tears that were falling as I waved until the car turned out of sight. Looking back down the road at his empty house, it mirrored the empty feeling within me. Rain trickled down my spine between my clothes, tracing the line that his hand had just taken. Walking down the road, I turned in the opposite direction and walked into town. It had stopped raining, so I wiped the mixture of rain and tears from my face as I neared the video shop. Inside, I saw Chris standing at the counter and went straight over. "Hi Chris, do you have a copy of Top Gun?" I asked. "Hi Steph, yes, of course I do," he said. He walked out from behind the counter and straight to the exact shelf where the box was. Returning, he found the videotape and placed it inside. "Membership number?" 808, I replied as he tapped it in and scanned the video out to me. "You do know that's James's favourite film," he said. Yes, I nodded, feeling the choke of fresh tears rising in my throat just at the mention of his name. I looked away quickly before Chris could see them. "I'll miss him," Chris said. I nodded and fled. Back at home, I wandered into the kitchen where Mum was preparing dinner for later. "Is it okay for me to watch a video?" "Yeah, sure, I think Dad's in his office, so the room's all yours." Grabbing a glass of lemonade, I shrugged off my wet coat and shoes and raced into the lounge. Placing the tape into the machine, I waited for the film to begin. It started with lots of military planes flying around, and I wondered if I was going to enjoy it at all. But then as Maverick filled the screen and started to flirt with Charlie at the bar, I was hooked. Hugging a pillow on the sofa, I studied the love scene and wondered how it would be if it was James and I entwined. Then I cried along with Maverick as Goose died. As the end screen faded, I almost pressed rewind to watch it again, but I didn't have time. All night my mind ran through the times I had spent with James. Every word he had ever said to me, every time he had touched me, and of course all the kisses. It was like watching my own film reel. Monday the 1st of February 1988. As I walked to meet Sarah, June and Amanda, I could see they were already deep in conversation. With June seeing me on Saturday night, I guessed that I was going to be the main talking point. "Hi girls," I said, watching them all turn to look at me. "Well, aren't you the dark horse?" June said. "Do tell us all the gossip." Her blue eyes stared me down, and I could see the glint of anger there that she had not known hardly anything about James. "There's not much to tell, really," I began. "I met James at the swimming pool a couple of weeks ago, but he's just moved away with his parents." "But I saw you together at the cinema," June pouted. "Yes, as friends, spending some time together before he left on Sunday." I could already feel the tears trying to escape from the corners of my eyes. I hastily blinked them back. "We're going to stay friends and write to each other," I said. I hoped that this was enough to satisfy them all. "So nothing happened between the two of you?" Amanda asked, joining in with the interrogation. "Not really. He kissed me when he said goodbye on Saturday and he gave me a mixtape," I said, not wanting to share anything more with them. "That's a shame, as he was gorgeous," June gushed. "Yes, it is," I replied, as we neared the school gates. John was waiting for June, so she switched her attention to him and left me alone. Sarah tucked her arm through mine. "Come on," she said softly. She had noticed my trembling lips and saw red eyes as she steered me in the direction of the nearest toilets. After school we walked into town as I needed to buy some writing paper, envelope stamps, and for good measure a new pen. I was on a mission to write and post my first letter to James that evening. Once in my room I took out the sheet and paused. What should I write? Lacking inspiration, I turned to my stereo and put in the mixtape that he had given me. "Dear James, I'll start by thanking you for the lovely time we spent together on Saturday night. The film was really good, but the company was excellent. I hope that you didn't mind me coming down to see you off on Sunday. I'm sorry if it was inappropriate, but I just had to see you one last time. How is the unpacking going? Have you settled into your new house okay? Please write and tell me what it's like there. Have you managed to get a job yet? School is okay. June wanted to know all about you after seeing us together on Saturday night. I have told her little bits, but not much, as she is a terrible gossip and I don't need anything spreading around school. I am studying hard as it's exam year and I want to continue afterwards and do a media course. I have a mad ambition to work on radio as a DJ, but we'll have to wait and see if anything progresses on that front. The mixtape is fantastic. I've been playing it non-stop since you left as it reminds me of you. Anyway, take care and write back soon. Your pen pal Stephanie." Charlotte spied the other letters that were still tucked into some of the other pages of the diary. She wondered if her mum had any more elsewhere, perhaps hidden in the attic.